Well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, I am so excited about Women in Mambo. I think this is such an amazing project and so needed. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm Angelica. My pronouns are she, her, ella. And I'm one of the directors of the Lak'ech Dance Academy based here in Oakland. And what led me to Mambo? So I always have loved dancing ever since I can remember when I was little. I would love singing to Selena songs and dancing in the living room in front of the TV. And I just always loved moving. Like I knew I was just going to be a mover for life. um, and so in college, I was very much interested in taking more. I'd never gone to studio or trained classes, and so I was like, hey, let me try out a dance class. Let me see how this feels. And so I took a few like salsa classes and ballroom. And so I was just more of like a social dancer, and I just loved going out with friends and family. And so in what was it, 2012, so 10 years ago, when I moved to the Bay Area, I went to my first salsa festival here in San Francisco. And I was so inspired and moved by all the performances. And I especially remembered Salsa Mania, who is a company that I have trained with. John and Liz are amazing mentors and friends of mine. And yeah, I saw them perform and I was just like, I gotta go train with them. And so I went and I took, quite a few series and rehearsals and teams with them. And that's when I was really inspired by the Antu Mambo style. I just love how it felt in my body. And it took me a while to transition because I like loved on one. I still do, but I have a little bit of a preference. And so, yeah, I just like fell in love with it. And ever since then, like I was just so inspired to move my body and inspire others to move and use it as a way to heal, and also just as our self-care. And it's so important, I think someone who's just is very an embodied person. That's like the way I release a lot of my stress, a lot of my anxiety, and so not only is it great for our physical, but it's also amazing for our mental health, which is also, I'm also a therapist as well. I went to school, I got my master's in counseling psychology. So I'm always wanting to blend patients. Yay, thank you. Oh, I love this question because it's like, okay, story time. So Jahida and I met in 2014, and we met on the dance floor, bailando. Jahida is my beautiful wife, for those of you who don't know. And so we just, automatically connected, and it was just like this beautiful energy, like magnets just coming together, and just this fiery energy. And we just loved dancing together. And of course, she's Dominican, so I was like, okay, I gotta learn bachata. I love bachata. But I was like, okay, now it's your turn. You gotta learn mambo, you gotta learn salsa, let's go. And so yeah, we just like one day we were just walking by the lake, and I was like, do you want to become a professional dancer one day? She's just like, yeah. And she was just like playing around, but I took it very literal. And I was like, well, let's do it. Let's go compete. And so we started competing, and people were asking us right away, wait, are y'all gonna, start your own company? And we're like, wait, slow down. So we trained also with Alex and Desiree, who's our amazing friends, and mentors as well, along with Innocence, Brian and Samantha. And so we just like fell in love with the community. And so I think after a few years, we were just like, hey, let's start, a community that really focuses on bringing the LGBTQ plus community together and really bridging also the Afro-Latin dance community together, because I feel like they're two separate communities, and we just feel like it's a space that is so needed, we haven't, there isn't really much of a space that is that is focused in bachata and salsa. And so we were just like, let's do it. So in 2017, we had auditions for the first time. And we had 48 people show up, and it was just like so incredible just to see the amazing turnout. And then we decided to name it in Lak'ech. Well, one, the meaning of it is a Mayan phrase, and it means "you are my other me, tú eres mi otro yo." We are a reflection of each other. And it's a beautiful message that you can say to any loved one. And we wanted to pass this along because, we are a reflection of each other. And, if I cause harm to you, I cause harm to myself, and so it has a lot of it has a beautiful message and also a healing message. And so I feel like it was perfect for what the purpose of us bridging these two communities together and really focusing on visibility. It's really hard because this community is very heteronormative, and we live in a heteronormative world. And so we wanted to be like, hey, move on over, make some room. We coming through and we showing up. Hella prideful, hella proud. So yeah, it's a little bit about how we started, and it's been beautiful. We're gonna turn 5 this year in August.
Wow, 5. It's been 5 years.
Yes, I know, right?
Such a big accomplishment in bringing this community to existence.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm like, wow. I still can't believe it. I'm like, ah. And then I also want to add that the second year, so we started in 2017 and 2018, we applied to be fiscally sponsored through this organization called Queer Culture Collective. And they were like, hey, we have a grant. Why don't you all throw an event? And we're like, oh my God, we have to throw our festival. We have to do our own festival. So that's when we began our first year, the Queer Afro-Latin Dance Festival with Chahaira and I and our students really worked together to make this happen. It's one of its kind event, and it's happening in person, June 10th and 11th of this year at the DoubleTree Hotel in San Jose. And we're going to be bringing queer and trans artists from all over the world to come and train. There's going to be a panel discussion. There's going to be a competition component. There's going to be workshops and performances. It's just going to be a magical queer event, and it's going to be fabulous. So you can get your tickets now at the queerafrolatindancefestival.com website. So yeah, it's come through. Thank you for asking these questions, because I think this one is so important and it's often not talked about enough, And I think for me, safety looks different for everyone, But for me, I really feel like because salsa and bachata and many of the Afro-Latin dances are very close in contact, I often feel like we don't create this culture of consent, and like really being mindful and reading body language. And so something that Jahad and I started implementing is that every time we teach a class, specifically partner work, we talk about the importance of like really being mindful and reading body language. And if a follower or leader places their hand, or creates distance, to really, be conscientious and respect that space, and not to push it and not to be like, oh, I didn't read that or I didn't get that right. Like to really honor the boundaries that people place, so that we can enjoy and have fun. That's why we're going, and dancing as a community in the first place, And so I'd like to see more of that in the community, like just creating, just normalizing consent, and I think to just like really being I think that like support also looks very different for folks. But like being very conscientious, of folks who, come from different experiences and backgrounds and sexual orientation, identity and gender, right? I think too, like as, all women, we in our daily lives, like we go through a lot of shit, and so we don't want to go into these spaces where we're now, getting re-traumatized. We want these spaces to feel like we can just be our authentic, genuine, unapologetic selves and show up as we are,
Yes. Say it louder. Louder.
And so I think that that's just it's so important, and I want more of that energy, more of that support from each other. So something that in Lak'ech really prides themselves or ourselves in really creating a safe environment and inclusive environment is to have community agreements. So we have these agreements that we include in our membership agreement, and we review them the first day or in our orientation, and then we also have them for our festival. And I'm just going to share a few just to kind of give some examples that I would like to see more dance companies, more instructors, more festival promoters using. So we always say that leading and following have nothing to do with gender, right? Like let's stop saying ladies, men. Like it's we are evolving as a human race, right? We are constantly shifting, and so does our language, right? And so I think that if we can just really shift from just saying leader and followers instead of men and women, and um, really non-binary, like have that the and I know that takes time. There's a learning curve for everyone, but I think that that is going to also really help folks feel safe and included. Another example is we say that no forms of harassment will be tolerated, and I think again this goes back to like the importance of making sure that we are promoting consent and that we are modeling that for our students in our community. And then another one we say is that we always ask our dance partners for their names and their pronouns, to not assume that just based on their appearance that they have a specific gender identity or sexual orientation, right? Like, let's stop making these assumptions and let's just ask. It's a simple like name and pronoun. Like it's, and so I think that the more we can create that culture, the more people will feel more inclusive. And I think that also our logo or kind of what we often say is that we dance with our corazones, right? We dance with our hearts. And to me, that also like really centers us and unifies us and makes it so that we are really in our bodies, right? That's why we want to dance because, we want to feel in our bodies. We want to feel free in our movement. And so I think, yeah, just creating that feeling and energy is important. So just a few examples. Mambo is, well, I'm going to use a few more few words. Is revolutionary, is resilient, and is excitement. Yeah. I'm trying not to have it around food because I'm trying to change my associations to food. Um, but I would say, oh, it's going to be around food. I just love eating munchies. I get the munchies a lot. So I literally will just have bags of full of munchies and hot Cheetos. And I'm just like, give them to me. And all my hands and fingers are red. Gosh. I'm trying to think. I mean, because we're talking about Mambo, Adolfo and Tanya, I'm always just so incredibly inspired by their movements, by their soulfulness. I mean, talk about dance with your corazón, right? Yes. Wow, there's a lot of them, but um, the dance moment would have to be winning a world champion title with Jahaira, with my wife in 2019. Yes, it was a beautiful moment. I really love taking walks with my Lucy, who's my beautiful fur baby. Yes, so walks around the lake. Wow, that's great. Um, Definitely unapologetic, definitely authenticity and community. Um, I'm deeply thankful to be alive. Like I'm, I'm thankful that I can breathe. I have an able body that I can dance. I have, family. I have my wife. I have friends. I have community. Like I know you said one thing, but I'm grateful for many things.
I love it. I love it.
Especially during
Just who
these
you are, right? I love it. That wraps up all of our questions. So just tell the group where they can find out more info on where to train with you on the festival. Where can we go? Or how can we support you?
Yes. Okay. So we are currently, Jahida and I are teaching bachata and salsa classes every Friday in Oakland. And so you can find out our information by going on our website in lakechdance.com or our IG handle or Facebook is also in Lak'ech Dance. And then our festival, we will be also teaching a class and performing along with many other queer and trans dance instructors, and that you can find information on our website, queerafrolatindancefestival.com.